So, this is a true story, and we're just gonna get into it. But before I get into it, I just want to say it could have been me going to jail for 2 years. So, I just want to say we need to give recognition to our common sense. If you didn't hear me, we really need to give recognition to our common sense. So I'm just gonna get into the story of what happened. I'm not gonna name any names. I'm gonna describe some things, but that's about it. And if you do want to find out more, the article is on Google with who I'm talking about. So at the age of 15, was it 15 or 14? At the age of 15, I stopped being friends with this girl. I want you to understand why I stopped being friends with this girl. I stopped being friends with this girl simply because every other week she come back talking about she's pregnant. And you know, when you're young, you're like, oh girl, I'm gonna be the auntie, I'm gonna be there for you, don't worry, you're okay, like you don't have to abort it. You know, that's a good friend there. Like, I'm gonna help you, I'm gonna support you, like, to get it, I'm gonna be there. Then the girl comes back 2 weeks later. Oh, I lost the baby, da, 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 like, and then comes back again. Oh, I'm pregnant in the same week, talking about I'm pregnant. You know, this went on for months. I'm talking about a good 9 months. One day I turned to her, I said, shouldn't you be giving birth by now? Like, because I don't think you understand. It was a lot. 15-year-old me hearing my so-called friend who's 1 year older than me telling me she's pregnant every other week, but like still no baby, still no birth. What's going on here? Was this all a lie? You're telling me you're meant to be bringing a youth to life. What else are you lying about life about? That to me is the reason why I stopped kind of being friends with her. And you could gun for me and say, oh, maybe she had abortion, maybe she had a miscarriage. No, she didn't. She had a period every month. The fuck? There's stupid me thinking, yeah, she's pregnant on her period. No, man. But anyway, we're just gonna get into it. So this article is in regards to a ex-friend of mine who has been arrested and gone to jail with another friend of mine. So I knew both of them. They went to jail for 28 months or so, and it was for battering a disabled guy that they had met on a dating site. Now, the article doesn't stipulate when or the dates. Now, I didn't know this person was in jail. So when I had just been in the area, I remember seeing like an acquaintance and he told me, yeah, for, you know, the disabled guy that lives in the red block. And I was like, oh, like, you know, when shock and shiver comes to your head, like, oh, the guy from the red block. Reason being is this girl has battered a disabled guy with him. And I can believe it's true because I kind of remember, but I must say this. The girl that was with her, I do believe she was only sentenced for the simple fact of being there. I think she was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, because I know this girl has been through a lot in life, but she had 2 kids. I highly doubt she's gonna go through all of that. And well, she didn't really have custody of the kids, so anyway. So I don't think that really matters. But at the same time, I know she's been through a lot, but when I grew up with her and was friends with her, she wasn't that type of person. And only a few years have changed. Yeah, she could have changed. I'm not too sure. That is a possibility. However, I will solely believe she was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, and she wasn't gonna speak up, because for some reason when you're a youth you live by the rule, snitches are for snitches. Oh my gosh, I must be old. You know, I can't even remember it. What, snitches for ditches? Snitch, whatever. You lived by that rule as a young teenager, talking about you're not gonna snitch on somebody. Let's just say that, because I don't remember. Like, I'm grown, I'll snitch on you. You get me? You ain't fucking up my shit, I'll snitch on you. Don't get it twisted. But don't get it twisted, okay? I'm sorry, I know you would do the same too. So okay, so I want to just explain this. That's the mentality she went by, and of course she's not going to say it about her friend. Whoever this passerby was, they basically saved his life. And to be honest with you, I'm gonna bring you back a few years. If this is the exact same guy that the article is talking about, which it may be, because he lived in the same block, from the same area, and had the same similar disabilities she was talking about. So I kind of believe they're the same person. And on top of it, the acquaintance that I knew is the one who told me it was from the guy from the red block. And I want to bring you back to a stage where I say this could have been me, and I could have been the one with her going through this situation to jail for absolute nonsense. So let's bring it back to when I was about 15 years of age. I think I may have been about 14 at that time. Reason being is because short school skirts, I can remember that. So I may have been about 14 or 15, one of the two, yeah. And she's a year older than me, so she was either 15 or 16. Let's just bring it back to 15, because I stopped talking to her when I was 15 due to the whole, remember, like I said, I just don't have time for that. Like, come on, I'm growing older, I'm not the same age. Like, when she did it when I was 14, I thought it was normal. When she's doing it at 15, it's no longer normal. So I constantly went out with this girl. We went places. I've got a bunch of story times that I've been through with this girl. A bunch. Oh my gosh. So we've gone so many different places, done so many different things with one another. And one thing I will say is she was always a vibe when we went to these type of places. And she always had good vibes with other people. Sometimes, okay? So anyway, now, I remember she was like, oh, where you at? Blah, 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 let's link up. I was like, yeah, so I must have went to her house. So I know her mother very well. And I actually remember speaking to her mother while she was in jail. And I didn't know she was in jail until, like I said, the acquaintance told me. And her mother was like, yeah, she's good, you know, all's going well. I was like, oh, I've been trying to get in contact with her. How? Do you have her number? She was like, yeah, you can contact her on Facebook. And I was just like, like, we were really close. So asking her for her number, I thought, yeah, she would give it to me, because I was trying to rekindle. I was in the area, I haven't seen her, I haven't spoken to her, because I know, like, I didn't want to, you know, I think people change, right? People can change for the better or for the worse. It's true, people do change. No matter what anyone wants to say to me, people really do change, okay? So I thought, yeah, maybe she's come out of that little childhood nonsense she was doing. So I wanted to rekindle. I didn't know she was in jail at that time. So anyway, let's bring it back to 15. So when we were 15, we went to meet up. She was like, come to my house. So we went to her house, and whilst we were at her house, she was getting dressed. She was like, oh, I've got to stop by this guy's house to get some money from him. He owes me some money, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, cool. So she went in these big fuck off high heels, short skirt, everything. And I was just in jeans and like a jumper because I didn't think it was like nothing too big, if that makes sense. I didn't think it was like a lot. She was just saying she wants to go meet up with this guy, and because he owes her money. And I was thinking, yeah, like at our age it's normal. You hook your brother up with money, he gives you money. Oh, yo, can you give me money? Yeah, I give you money. Like it was normal. So I was like, yeah, cool. And then she didn't say anything other than that though, whilst we were at her mother's house. Nothing other. I didn't even know the situation. So when she said that, I was like, yeah, she got ready. We're walking there. And I remember it was in this estate. I don't remember the name of this estate, but I'm going to describe it. It was like a whole red brick block. And when you go in, like the front doors are like metal red doors. So yeah, if you know that estate, that's where the guy lived. So there's no way of breaking down these doors, so you can bang all you want. So as we've gone in the lift, someone must have been walking out of the block, so she didn't buzz up. And then she was banging on his door, banging on his door. I was like, who is this guy? Like, who is he? And I remember I knocked on his door and I was like, hi, hurry up, man. I want to go. Like, hurry up, because we were going to go out after. So I was like, hurry up, knocking on the door. Hurry up. Like, I want to go. And then the guy started going, go away. Like, I'm not doing this with you. I'm going to call the police. I was like, what? I was like, what? So I started stepping back because I thought this was a guy she knew. Like, they were cordial. He just owed her money. Like, you know where he lives. Do you get it? So I started stepping back and stopped knocking on the door and was like walking away. As soon as I heard the guy go, oh, I'm going to call police. Like, go away. I'm not doing this with you. Like, I'm not opening my door to you. And she was going erratic on the door. Like, banging off that door. Give me my money. I'll knock down the door. Give me it. What are you doing? I was like, who is this guy? Like, why? Like, who is this guy? And she was like, oh, it's some disabled guy that I met up for the dating site. And I was just like, bitch, why didn't you tell me this? Why didn't you? This is what I'm saying. Anybody in these types of situations, you got to come out my house. I got to leave. What do you mean? I want the full details before we leave. What do you mean? I did not know this. So as she's knocking on the door, it's the same guy from the article. It might be, it might not be. I assume it is just from the acquaintance we had with one another. The mutual friendship that we had with whatever this person is. I don't know who he was. No, I do know who he was, but I don't want to say his name. But anyway, we had he is one who informed me, yeah, it's that disabled guy from the red brick. And I immediately knew because I've been there and I remember that situation where the guy was like, oh, leave me alone. I'm not opening my door to you again. I'm not doing this with you. Da, 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 da. And I was just like, yeah, let's go. Let's go. We left. And I think we went to somebody else's house that day. Because she had high heels, short skirt, everything. So we left and we went and go vibe, smoked our weed, drank. Well, she drank, I didn't drink. I smoked some weed and it was with this random person. What was that area? It was somewhere in Southwest we went. I don't remember these areas, but I remember if we were getting on a bus or getting off the bus, because it was like this big greenery before we had to walk down this road. So anyway, we chilled, we vibed, I said goodbyes. That's not particularly the end of the story of our friendship there. I was still like hi and bye vibes, how you doing if we saw each other, but there wasn't as much link ups anymore. There wasn't as much. But I do remember when I got my first flat at I'm gonna leave that for a different story, because that is basically how the friendship ended. So I'm gonna leave that for a different story. But in regards to this story, I had no clue that this guy would be the same guy she goes on to attack 3-4 years later. It has to be the exact same guy. The guy was from the same area. The guy lived just up the road from her house. So I knew where her house was. And if this scene was happening in her house, that's crazy. Do you know how many people would have heard that? Like, she lived in a council house, yeah? And in this council house, you have somebody here, you have somebody here, you have somebody here, you have somebody here. Everyone can hear everything. You know, you knock, the walls are shallow. Everyone could have heard. So that passerby had to have been someone who was like living there and heard everything or something. It had to be. It had to be. I don't know why they would have done it or their reason behind it, but from when she was moving erratic, when I was just like 14, the first time knocking on his door, I can imagine why she would do it, because he was scared then and he would be scared now. And you know, the craziest thing about it is, during that same time period of that happening, I remember her telling me, because we must have met up again when she was like 19, either 19 or 20. We must have met up again. And then she was telling me this sad story, talking about, oh, she's going through this abuse. This guy keeps beating her up. He knows where she lives, blah, blah, blah. And the guy from downstairs was like to me, he's so rude. It's unbelievable. But he used to say it to me all the time. He's like, why don't you, like when he's trying to diss me, he used to go, why don't you go over there and go be with them man that she goes into the house with? Now, man, you think I didn't see you come out her house the other day? And I said, that's the first time I've been in her house. He used to gun me for going to see her. But I used to go and see her because we were friends and I knew her inside out. So I knew her temperament, I knew the type of person she was, I knew everything about her, basically, even her childhood. I even knew the body count. Do you get it? I knew everything about her. So of course, even though I kind of, you know, pushed back and no longer wanted to be friends with her at 15, when I came back to like that area, I saw her. She told me where she lives. She invited me to her house. We spoke. She told me everything she was going through, etc., etc. And that was like the first time since I was like 15 I've seen her. So it was like 4 or 5 years. Had to be. Because the last time I spoke to her, I got my first flat and I was 15 and a half with a 2-bedroom house. That's a different story time. I've got stories for days about that situation, because It wasn't all dandy, okay? But anyway, but I do particularly remember her telling me, you know, she was going through this. But at that time frame, maybe it may have been a complete and utter different situation. I'm not too sure. I'm not really made aware, and I don't really remember what the case was. So anyway, but it's just crazy to know that this is a person you've grown up with. You know inside out. You know their temperament, the people she's been with, the area she's from, the type of person she is, the moods she has. Like, you know her so well to know that it led from her knocking on a door, talking about money, to her beating him. No matter what you have to tell me, I know the big girl did not do shit. I don't believe she would have been the one to do that. I believe the main character is the person who did it. So I believe she was the one to do it, because like I said, knocking on the door of it, leading to this further down the line. Now, when I was 15, I didn't really see anything wrong with it at first until the person stated, I'm gonna call the police, leave me alone. I'm not doing this with you. Leave me alone. He knew her by name. So I was just like, yeah, you know, let's go. I'm arrested. I thought you were friends. Arrested for what? For something that's not even my doing. What, just because I'm with you, I'ma get arrested too? Me? Yeah, I don't really like the skin of oranges. No, I'm not doing it. So it wasn't something I would want to see in the future. Oh, you got arrested for that. Oh my gosh, for what? Just being with her. It was unfair. That'd be unfair, honestly. But all I'm saying is, sometimes in life, your common sense will save you. Because that honestly could have been me going to jail with her because of just being with her at the time of the situation. Now, I have no clue how many times this could have happened, but I know full well that guy has probably reported her more times than not. But for him to travel to our house, it's weird. It is really weird. Like, if he used to call police on her all the time, why would he travel to her house to then do the same thing? It didn't really add up. Does that make sense? Like, in the article, it stipulates like he went to her house and this was happening, and then they were trying to hide the scene from a passerby, etc. Don't you think it's weird that he knew where she lived already? This girl doesn't really give out her house unless, like, this has been happening for years. She knew where he lived, he knew where she lived, type thing. All for money. Like, she must have, I think she was dunking him in a bath full of water and gonna electrocute the water, type thing, and hurting him with straighteners, hitting him with hammers. Like, it's a really serious offense. Like, how the fuck did she go from banging on doors, threatening him for money, to like battering him later on in life? What I don't get is, if he's already been calling police and you know he's got learning difficulties, where was the support for this man? Where was the support to guide him out of this, to try and teach him these aren't the type of people you need in your life? These aren't the situations you need for your future. Where were they? Like, don't grown adults that are like with learning difficulties get extra support in life? Don't they? Where was it? That didn't make sense. He should have had like a caretaker, like, you know, like people with learning difficulties or unable to assess certain situations will just blurt everything out to people. Does that make sense? So yeah, it makes sense, because I know people like that, and they just blurt out everything because they don't know who to say it, what and who to say it to. Like, so everyone gets the same information. All I'm saying is, in life, you've got to be careful with the people you know. You don't know what could happen to your future if you continue staying with them. Now, it took a lot more things for me to go through with this girl, for me to actually be like, I don't particularly want to be friends with her anymore. And it wasn't simply because of that. It was other things. It was just so boring, you know? Like, I was 15 first flat, and I was thinking there's got to be more to life than just that. Like, I've got my house, let me make some money, let me get a job. You get it? And it was always, I want to leave that for a different story. But whatever the case may be careful who you're around. You could go down the same way they are gonna go down, for the simple fact of you being with them. That's it. Whatever you do, you have to be careful. You honestly have to be careful in life of the surroundings you keep around you. Especially if you want a better future for yourself. Know your surroundings. Don't ever, and one other thing I want to say, if you're around any type of person like this, it doesn't mean you are like your friend. That statement has never been true. You aren't like the people you surround yourself with. And I know that's a fact to be true, because, boy. But yeah, I'm going to leave it here. And if you want to find out more about the article, you can go and search it on Google. You can search some of the words that I'm talking about. It is about two females who attacked a disabled guy in her home in regards to money for £40. Just asking for £40. That was what it was in regards to. It's just crazy. It's crazy. £40 can make you attack a man. You know, when you're broke. Yeah, but that's not an excuse, man.